The FAA says it will cut about 10% of flights at 40 major airports starting tomorrow. That's unless the government reopens. The reason? Air traffic controller shortages. FAA facilities report more than 400 of them since the shutdown began.
They're not calling in sick. They're calling in saying, I don't have childcare today. What do you want me to do?
A controller union leader says the need to address the strain on the system is urgent. The FAA agrees.
And we're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today to prevent, things from deteriorating.
An airline source says companies got about an hour's notice about the plan. Now they're scrambling to adjust their flights. United says it aims to keep hub-to-hub schedules normal, but the CEO of Frontier Airlines warns some passengers could get stranded. He suggests people flying Frontier within 10 days book backup tickets. Across airlines, passengers leaving tomorrow might not get much warning if they're affected. That's because the FAA initially declined to name the impacted airports.
What the FAA is talking about here is equivalent to canceling about 4,500 flights a day. By my math, that's about 30% worse than the worst day for flight cancellations in the last year.
It's going to be a major impact on all travelers. We're talking fewer flights to catch and longer wait times. Like you said, this is the busiest airport in the world, and so we are expecting to see Hartsfield-Jackson listed on this list that the FAA will be releasing today of 40 airports that will be reducing flights by 10%. We know just last week we were here as air traffic controllers. We're here at the airport passing out flyers to people coming in and out of the airport, urging the government to end the shutdown. One of the air traffic controllers telling me last week that, they've been working 6-day work weeks. He was tired, and also they were not getting paid. American Airlines now sending emails to customers informing them of possible flight changes ahead with this cutback, saying disrupting plans is the last thing we want, and for that, we apologize. We also know right now the CEO of United Airlines has said that they're going to be offering full refunds to travelers, even if your flight originally said non-refundable. This is for customers that decide they don't want to deal with this. Maybe they don't want to catch those flights they've already booked. But Aisha, major impacts expected. Also, this is happening gradually as far as that 10% cutback. It's going to be over the next couple of days, starting at, I believe, 4% Friday to 5% Saturday, eventually making its way up to 10%.
I get the concept here, but what if cutting the flights doesn't actually help them? Because at the end of the day, we still have these workers working this job without getting paid.
Yeah, living without a paycheck, that's really hard. And, even if they make these cutbacks, they're still not getting their paychecks. We know that the FAA said yesterday during this big announcement that if staffing pressures on these workers continue, even after these major cuts, they say that they could make some more adjustments, though they didn't say exactly what those adjustments would be, what they would consider moving forward. But as we know, there's nothing right now telling us that the government shutdown will be happening before tomorrow, and so it looks like these changes will be happening.
Among air traffic controllers are causing widespread delays right now, and of course this comes just weeks out from the busy holiday season.
FAA data shows the cutbacks could impact an upwards of 4,400 daily flights.
This will really have wide-reaching impacts. You have to think about not just those traveling through this weekend out of TPA potentially, but also for the airline crews, the connecting flights. Major logistics have to come into play, so they will be bringing their best people forward for that job ahead. Again, this is all in limbo with Congress waiting to strike a deal. For perspective, here at TPA, there are about 550 daily arrivals and departures right here at this very airport. The FAA says the plan to slash air traffic by 10% across 40 airports nationwide is all about safety. They're talking about air traffic controllers having this fatigue from working without pay, overtime, having to fill in those shortage gaps, and of course working without pay for more than a month now. While leaders at TPA had previously said that this airport is not experiencing operational operational delays or issues tied to these federal employees. We've already seen the trickle-down effects on flights coming into this airport from others who definitely have. We see this video here showing major delays across the country. FAA Administrator Brian Bedford says the agency is not going to wait for a problem to happen before putting precautions in place.
When we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it, and we're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today to prevent, things from deteriorating.
Now, again, TPA is on that proposed list of 40 airports across the country that will see 10% of all air traffic control canceled for now. That finalized list is expected to come down at some point today. We are keeping a close eye. And again, this would take effect in less than 24 hours from right now.
The flights out of MSP and other major airports will start getting canceled tomorrow due to the government shutdown.
Experts predict hundreds, if not thousands, of flights could be canceled around the country when the cuts kick in tomorrow. The FAA says it is a 10% reduction in flights at 40 high-volume markets, an unprecedented move. The reason goes back to the government shutdown, now entering day 37. Since day one, air traffic controllers have been working unpaid. So while some don't show up to work, the others who do are feeling the fatigue, and the FAA says it needs to keep the airspace safe.
The controllers have been working fastidiously for the last 5 weeks with this huge burden over their head of lack of compensation. And we are starting to see some evidence that fatigue is building in the system in ways that we feel we need to work towards relieving some of that pressure.
Yeah, so right now I am watching for when the FAA posts the official list of airports that'll see these cuts. An MSP spokesperson got back to me this morning saying at this time they do not have any information how MSP Airport will be impacted and that you should stay posted with your airline for the latest flight information. Back to you.
The FAA announcing a 10% cut in flights. We are talking thousands altogether across dozens of cities, and as soon as Friday. That's to account for staffing shortages as the government shutdown stretches into a second month. Alma McCarty went to PDX to take the pulse of travelers.
At PDX Wednesday night, we saw on-time departures and really little to no lines, just smooth sailing through the airport. But come Friday, there could be possible disruptions here and across the country. Hectic travel hubs on the horizon.
This whole thing is just it's a little worrisome because we're trying to get business done like everyone else.
Another ripple effect from the ongoing government shutdown.
I mean, it's just going to disrupt a lot.
A lot of flights likely to be canceled as the FAA reduces air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets.
We are concerned about that, but we had to have a gut check of what is our job. Is it to make sure there's, minimal delays or minimal cancellations, or is our job to make sure we make the hard decisions to continue to keep the airspace safe?
This call comes as air traffic controllers, the majority of whom work 6 days mandatory overtime per week and unpaid over the last month, have dealt with staffing shortages, some calling out, leading to flight delays. Some travelers at PDX can understand why.
And I would have to say that if I were employed as either of those, I probably wouldn't have a job because I probably wouldn't show up, because if I haven't been able to feed my family for over a month, then I need to find a job that I can work.
If I was an air traffic controller right now and I hadn't been paid in a month, I'd probably be looking for something else to do as well.
It's not clear yet if PDX will be among the airports directly impacted by the reduction. Airlines like Alaska are calling for an end to the shutdown and report they're in talks with the FAA and are awaiting further guidance. Folks at the airport awaiting that guidance as well.
We just landed in Portland and we're supposed to leave Saturday. So are we going to get out of here? I don't know.
We're expecting that list of the 40 high-volume markets from the FAA at some point.
By the way, there's still no word of a deal tonight to end the shutdown. Democratic leaders in Congress are calling on President Trump to negotiate with them to find a way to reopen the government. Meanwhile, the president met with Republicans at the White House this morning and said the shutdown was partially to blame for yesterday's poor election showing for the GOP. But the president also insisted that, meaning the shutdown, is the Democrats' fault, and they're not getting enough of the blame.
Do not believe I was unattended. We have non-perishable food items, pet food, baby supplies.
All collected over the last 2 days.
We put a plan together at the end of last week.
A plan to help feed federal aviation workers still on the job, unpaid.
We know that affording the everyday expenses of life and even just getting to the airport will be more and more challenging for the 1,800 or so federal workers who work at DEN.
On Wednesday, the airport sent a request to the Federal Aviation Administration asking whether airport revenue could be used to pay air traffic controllers. They're also looking to be reimbursed by the federal government for covering those wages once the shutdown is over. We reached out to the FAA, but haven't heard back.
It's a challenging time, you know, this food pantry is an expression of our gratitude and support for federal workers.
They're also accepting monetary donations and gift cards you can drop off at the airport. Right now, it's other airport employees who've been stocking these shelves. The hope is that by appealing to the public, they'll stay stocked for as long as it's needed.
For their commitment to this airport and to our operations, and to help make this difficult moment hopefully a little more bearable.
So to recap, non-perishable food, toiletries, it's all being collected by the airport. They tell us that they are looking to keep this pantry open throughout the duration of this shutdown.
The U.S. Senate is set to reconvene tomorrow during what is now the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. And at this point, with no indication of an end to the shutdown, the Transportation Department is having to reduce air traffic by 10% starting Friday.
That's because so many airport workers who aren't getting paid are having to find work somewhere else, leading to major staffing issues.
TSA shortages have caused long lines here. Not tonight, though, but tomorrow. Bush Airport tells us that they expect the lines to be anywhere from 60 to 75 minutes here. And at Hobby Airport, the wait times could be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So be sure to arrive early. But now what we could see is, because of air traffic control shortages, we could see some flight cancellations. Now, it's still unclear what exactly that will mean for every airport or what airlines will be cutting those flights. But the FAA Administrator Brian Bedford and the Transportation Secretary Shan Duffy, and after a planning meeting today with airline leaders, they're trying to figure out how to best reduce those flights in what they consider the 40th busy travel markets. They say it's crucial to get ahead of the staffing issues now because unpaid workers are facing mounting pressure to pay their bills.
They need to put food on the table, gas in the car, pay their bills. By the way, I do not want them to take side jobs. I want them to show up for work. We have asked them to show up for work, but I'm not naive to understand that they're trying to figure out how they meet their daily obligations.
We're trying to lean into the fact that when we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it, and we're not going to wait for a safety problem to truly manifest itself when the early indicators are telling us we can take action today to prevent, things from deteriorating.
The FAA says this is unprecedented, and the airlines are scrambling right now to try to make plans for Friday when these cancellations again will take in effect. Experts estimate it could impact anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 flights a day. And again, we're expecting to learn which flights and what airports and what airlines will be impacted tomorrow. Hopefully, this gives people enough time to plan their trips for the coming days. So if you're headed to the airport on Friday, be sure to check with your airline before you get to the airport. Reporting live.
United Airlines sharing a message their CEO, Scott Kirby, is sharing with employees. He says they plan to use their app, website, and push notifications to communicate directly with customers if their flight changes and offer rebooking options. They're also offering refunds for any customers who choose not to fly during this period, even if their flight is not impacted. That also goes for non-refundable tickets. Read his full statement on KHOU.com.